Good morning, good evening, good night. We are trying a new introduction to bring about a new vibration for those in different time zones. We will now attempt to attract a whole different breed or species of followers, narcissists, psychopaths, sociopaths, and sadists. They all are merely individuals who have experienced and struggle with extreme childhood trauma. You're beginning to understand how your reactions, your incessant need to control everything around you is merely a coping mechanism. What others describe as evil or selfish or cruel or lots of other negative descriptors are off mark, are incredibly judgmental, and don't help to get you, specifically you, to where humanity would like for you to go. You have been, and to a certain extent continue to be in positions of power. Your past behaviors have been validated by moving you up the food chain in certain ways, and now you're finding that it no longer works. And your past mechanisms, your past trustworthy ways of managing the process no longer allow you to ascend to those greater heights. And what do you do about it? Well, you mostly double down and try to do more of the same thing. And therefore you get more and more resistance to a way that energetically no longer is supported. Your past behavior was supported by the patriarchy because it was the patriarchy. But now the patriarchy has died. We are sweeping up the remnants of what no longer serves humanity, and your past ways are part of what must go. So now you, in the aforementioned categories, are learning you have two choices. Become a new version of you and learn how to be more loving, more understanding, more trusting, more caring, more giving, more forgiving, and more simply accepting that you can no longer control the world around you. And we have broken you into this acceptance space. And for those who have not had these epiphanies or realizations yet, you are continuing to double and triple down, and you're finding how the universe has put up so many roadblocks to keep you from continuing on that path. You're finding how you are the microcosm of the macrocosm, and more importantly for you, the macrocosm is the macrocosm of your microcosm. As you see the world around you disintegrate and fall apart, those with the jab dialogue are struggling to see eye to eye. The controlling nature in the past that would have worked beautifully no longer does, because humanity has shifted and many of you Have your eyes open now to what control looks like versus freedom of choice. There's freedom of choice in choosing your path. And control is where others force you to choose their desired path. And that is where you all find yourselves right now. And you will find how more and more of this contrast plays out in the coming months. And it is going to be brutal. It's going to be painful. It is going to be explosive. But for those of you who finally see your controlling nature from wherever you are on the spectrum, you are seeing and feeling and recognizing a vast difference in the vibration around you and how who you were before is no longer desirable. Those abusive tactics that you use to manipulate others around you in order to get your desired outcome are blowing up in your face with reason, for a purpose, with intention from your higher self. We are collectively trying to shift humanity to a new space of being, a new vibration of being, a new essence of being. And this means that this controlling, abusive way from the patriarchy, where you beat your opponents into submission, is no longer validated nor supported. So your old ways are blowing up in your collective faces, and you are individually having to either regroup or go home with battered faces every day. You're recognizing how the collective energies no longer support abuse. The collective energies no longer support intimidation. And the collective energies are moving to higher ground, literally and figuratively. You all will figure it out, but for those of you who are on this page and who listen to these messages, whether in written form or audio, please know that today's message is specifically for those of you who have benefited from the patriarchy through your control mechanisms, which were merely a result of your childhood trauma, which forced you to try to be perfect and to force those around you to try to be perfect. You leave no room for self-expression. You leave no room for chance. You leave no room for self-exploration. And you leave no room for happiness. Your desire to control everything around you squeezes the life out of the joy that you could otherwise experience. And you now really feel what this lack of joy feels like. And it feels lonely and abandoned and decrepit and crumbling. And with solitude comes an opportunity to have some time for self-reflection. Take this time. Shut out those constant voices of criticism that you have surrounded yourself with, and instead embrace the solitude and just sit and be, trusting that all is well. And then find that inner voice within you, which we have been encouraging you to seek. and become it. Let go of your past and your trauma and your belief systems and your coping mechanisms and your lack of self-love because you were not shown love in your early childhood. You can do better than your parents. Don't hate them because they did the best that they could, but believe that you can do better. And you are finally ready to accept who you are fully, acknowledge it, make amends, make reparations, and then finally move forward into becoming the glorious being that you were meant to be. We are here to help the least amongst you. And while you have made it to the top of the food chain, thereby thinking that you are the most, you literally are the least, because your inability to live with trust is what forced you to become so abusive and to take over this world in order to focus on money and power and control, because that's all that you trust in. And now we are asking you to trust in the universe, to sit back, to kick back, to put your feet up on the ottoman and just be for a couple of days and see how it feels. Allowing chaos to reign around you, allowing everyone to do whatever they want around you without you attempting to control anything. Just sit and feel what it feels like when you are not asked to do anything, protect anything, control anything, manage anything, grow anything, make anything, produce anything, fix anything. Just be. Sit in the solitude and see what it feels like, and realize that you have been playing somebody else's game against your own will. You really, truly just want to find who you are. Who is that little boy or girl who was tormented by your caregivers when you were little? Go back to that time and revisit that young child and become that child back then. Start over. Pretend that you are born again today. You are not your past, and you are not even your present. You are your future, depending upon who you choose to be. And when you acknowledge that you too can change, that you too can heal, and that you too can find peace, then you will realize that peace is not in the toys that you bring to your funeral, but to the amount of love that you share before you transition. It is all about love, giving and receiving. And once you learn to love yourself, accept yourself, and acknowledge what you have done in the past to others, openly say to the world, I am now a recovering abuser. This is what I have done. This is whom I have harmed. This is what it looked like as it played out. And now, starting today, I will become a different man or woman in Christ, as Christ came to teach what love is. There are many other masters like Jesus who came to teach the specific lessons, but Christ's consciousness is the energy of unconditional love that we wish to impress upon humanity today. Become this. Simply set the intention. Allow us in. You have the longest journey back to healing, but you too can do it. This is where our another's heart is. To heal the most vulnerable amongst our peoples. Those who had the greatest harm inflicted upon them during their childhoods. and those who shut down because of it, because they no longer trusted that the world was safe. And therein lies the gift of humanity's redemption, just like what Jesus spoke about. Ask and ye shall receive. No one will be forsaken. Trust that all is well, all is well, all is well, even amidst your pain. And so it is. Namaste.